Hello. Hello. And welcome to the thing. It's a stream. Frame Man is already here, so that's a nuisance. How are we all doing? Are we well? Hope we're well. It is Tuesday, isn't it? I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Good. I'm not going mad. Yeah. Hi. And welcome to a Drawthrough. Because that's what we do on Tuesdays. Because we're masochists. So, yes. Let's hop on over. Might as well get that back up. You're prepared for nonsense. That's sensible. Yeah. So, you're not. That's less sensible. Yeah. So that I was going to say addendum. I don't think it's an addendum. There it goes. Yeah, that made me laugh. I recently played through it at the weekend, and yeah, I forgot that was quite fun. Quite well done. Cheery, just kicking. What's his name? Jesse McCree down the stairs. Yeah. So welcome. So I played the game. I played this game at the weekend. You can play it on Steam at like 2 or 3 times speed, so you can just whiz right through it. You can also play it with a randomizer, which means that you can get 100 of all of the best spells before you fight the second boss. So that's cool. Just break it. It's brilliant. But yeah. One thing I did notice, however, I mashed through most of the dialogue because who cares? But there was one thing that stood out, which is a little bit of dialogue that I had absolutely no memory of. So I must have... this is either just before or just after. There may be many reasons, but it does not matter. Which, as far as I'm concerned, that is my excuse for not knowing anything from this point, because the game told me it doesn't matter. But there was a bit of dialogue, and I'll go through that in the recap, which fixes some plot holes and explains some things in the story, while also simultaneously making the end of this game much, much worse. So, but we'll get to that. So, Frame Man, please. I know you love this game. Calm down. So yeah. So what happened last time? Last time, things happened. So where did we start? We started... Oh yeah, we were doing some catching Pokemon. And we got a bunch of items together to get some... We got a skiing ring, I think. I can't remember why. The Solomon ring or something. You're on your iPad and have no mod powers. Also, hello Chris. Looking forward to the terrible ending of this story. We've got a few streams yet, so there's no... but you know, it'll happen. And having played the game at the weekend, it's worse than I thought. So we'll get to that. So we got a bunch of stuff which we put together to get ourselves a train friend called Dwittle. It was a ski supply store. I think so, yeah. I don't know anything about skiing. Not my thing. I did actually find out why it's called the Solomon Ring, funnily enough. I was looking up, because apparently this game has a few translation issues. Not as many as 7, but a few here and there. But one of the things, I decided to look up translations that are different. Apparently the original name for this, I can't remember it because it's really weird. But I looked into it and it was actually the name of a demon that presides over a certain ring of hell or something, and it's first mentioned in the Book of Solomon. So that makes sense. Salmon on the outside. Okay, there we go. So there is actually a connection in the original name for this thing. But for us, it's Dwittle. So who cares? Frame Man does, apparently. You're going to be a problem all stream. Honestly. Hi, Kiro. How you doing? Welcome. Then we went to a scientific research facility in the middle of the ocean and fought some dragons who looked a lot like Jen, but they weren't Jen, so it's fine. Then we fought another dragon called Charizard, who then became our friend. Yay! We then left, came back, and we came back after a while. Having just played the game, you can't just go back straight away. You have to go back and do other things. You have to go away and do other things, and then come back, and then you can go down into the underground and fight something that looks nothing like this. But once you fight it, you get hold of a new Pokemon. This thing, which I don't think we gave it a new name, but Frame Man always cares too much. I know. Keep getting him to calm down. Which is the most powerful Pokemon friend we can get. and is one of the most interesting things in the game for me, because there aren't enough answers for it, but it links enough to things that exist around it that it makes me feel like it actually belongs in the world, which is very rare in this game, it turns out. You're the only one with mod power? Unless Plaps turns up. You're an iPad because Frame Man nuked the stream on your laptop. Honestly. It is settling down now, so it might be better, but whatever floats your boat. So we got that Pokemon. Then we, I guess, carried on with the story. Okay, so Cheery and Simon took a little time to themselves because they've just broken Cheery out of potential space prison. They talk about what they're going to do if things go wrong, and they say, okay, this field full of flowers, we're going to come here. If anything goes wrong, if we lose each other, like in space or whatever, come here and we'll meet here. This will be our place that we can come to. And then we'll know. Even though this field is huge, it literally stretches off to the horizon. I thought I was exaggerating with this picture. I'm actually under-exaggerating. What's the... exaggerating? Inaugurating. Anyway, so... it's a big field, so I don't know how they find each other. Anyway, they said that. Now, here's the thing I missed. After this conversation, because this is right next to the orphanage of plot convenience, after this conversation, TM pops out. Do you remember TM? She used to be a sorceress, now she's not. She was the villain for the first half of the game, and now she's a friend. She pops out, and she decides to give a little bit of exposition at this point, which I have no memory of, but is quite important to the plot, or the lore, let's say, rather than the plot, at least for now. Friend, yes. So TM says a few things about sorceresses. Okay, so what even is a sorceress? Sorceress is somebody who has a natural affinity for magic that does not require external help. So we can have magic in our party by equipping Pokemon, or we can have magic by doing limit breaks and things. Like I've already mentioned that Jenny has one of the most powerful spells in the game, but she's not a sorceress. That's because she has to get hurt a lot to use it. I guess that's good enough reason. Frame Man, calm down. I know it's exciting, but you can calm down. Something you put your cup of tea on. That's sorcerish. But yeah, that's the idea. But you aren't just a sorceress. There are two rules, I guess, for sorceress. This is perfect music to go in the background of this. There are two rules of sorceresses in this world. Rule number one: no one's born a sorceress. You inherit it. You become a sorceress. Oh yeah, I set up a thing that reminds about posture and stuff. I'm glad it's working. So yeah, yes, you cannot become a sorceress unless an existing sorceress, gives you their powers. This actually makes sense for the theme of the game, because there are two themes of the game, I think I've mentioned before. The first is love, which is, take a guess what that's all about. And the second is the phrase succession of witches. The word succession now makes a bit more sense, because you can't become a sorceress unless you take the powers from another one. So there's a succession of these people giving powers on and on and on. And that's why are sorceresses vampires? Not really. You have to be given it. You can't take it, as it were. They're reverse vampires. They push blood into you? I don't know. But this is why Cheery became a sorceress. Not everyone can be a sorceress. You have to be of a certain lineage. But it turns out Cheery is. You have to give it away. I'll get to that. So Cheery became one because we were fighting TM. We brought her to the brink of death by attacking her with the sword a few times. And she collapsed, and she gave her powers to Cheery. And so Cheery became a sorceress, and TM no longer is. We'll ignore the fact that TM still manages to use magic in battle without having anything equipped. That's a plot hole, but that's caused by the battle team. That's not the story team's fault. Anyway. So there are too many rules, yes. So you have to be given the power in order to become a sorceress. The second rule is that a sorceress cannot die until that has happened. You cannot die with the powers. So you have to pass them on to somebody else before you can die, or I guess if you're on the brink of death, your powers will naturally go to somebody. So yeah, that's so yeah, that's the thing. So that kind of explains why copyright is was in space, rather than they just outright kill her, because that would just move her powers to somebody else, and that just moves the problem elsewhere. So they thought, well, if we just keep her in stasis in space for ages, we just don't have to worry about it. So yeah, they're the new rules of sorceressdom. You have to inherit the power from another sorceress who will give it to you, and before you die, you can't die until you've done that. Yeah, and the reason we're told this now is because TM decides to explain how she became a sorceress. She became a sorceress because when she was working at the orphanage one day while we were little kids running around, a battered and bruised woman came to the orphanage on the brink of death and was desperate to pass her powers on to somebody. And TM said, sure, I'll do it. Can I do it? Turns out she could. And yeah, so she inherited her powers from somebody who just turned up at the orphanage dying. So it's kind of circumstantial as to why she's a sorceress. So new solution to the future sorceress problem. Track down who gave her the sorceress powers and then murder them before they can. Keep that in mind. You could not have framed that sentence better for things that will happen later. But yeah. So I just needed to say that now. Did no one teach his child not to talk to strangers? She's not a child. She said she was a child, but she's in charge of the orphanage. We were children. She's in charge of the orphanage. Anyway, never like it when you say keep that in mind. Such a good suggestion. Anyway. Like I say, I completely missed this. I had no memory of this conversation at all. But when you play it on 2 to 3 times speed, and this happens just basically like an hour or two before the end, you connect to the two ideas and you're like, oh no, this is important and I hate it. Anyway, it makes the end of this story so much worse. If I didn't know that. Anyway, moving on. Now that that's happened, we go to Estus. We find out that Jimmy is president of Estus, and Jen and Jim are also there. I didn't have space to draw Jim, evidently. And they have a plan, and that plan is to let STPP, the future sorceress, do whatever she wants. Which seems a bit counterintuitive, but their plan is a little more important than that, as we discovered between streams. If we let her do a bit of time compression by sending her consciousness back into the past using Dishonored Jessie, because that's how she's able to do it in the first place. There's a machine that's built in the future that does what Dishonored Jessie does and sends people's consciousness back into the past. If they can do that and send her even further back into the past, then she can do her time compression thing, which is what she wants to do in the first place. Why does she want to do it? It says on the screen. If we can do that, but then sever the link just as that's happening, through the power of friendship and love, we can make our way to the future. So yeah, that's the thing. That's how we're supposed to navigate through timelessness, is through the power of love. Jimmy is president, which doesn't affect us in any sort of way. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's the plan. So we got to get into the floating box, the lunatic Pandora, and we have to confront Sorceress Copyright, who is now the person that STPP is, or the sorceress that STPP is possessing, because Cheery's just whatever. As soon as Copyright got out of space prison, STPP went straight for that. Eat this whole drug trip in the bin. Yeah, keep those words in mind as well. I don't know how I'm going to draw stuff that's coming up. So yeah, so we're going to do that. So we go to the big old thing. We go with our dragon ship, which claws its way in. I forgot that it also breathes lasers. And we break in. Having broken in, we find Wide and Grumpy, and Wide and Grumpy, they're having a conversation about, oh, this job isn't very good. I hate doing this. You know, I signed up just to be a soldier, and now we're doing things for sorceresses and flying in weird ships. And Wide says, well, you know, sounds like you want to quit. And Grumpy says, yeah, good idea, come with me. And then I think the last thing you hear from them is Grumpy saying, come on, we'll have a drink. So they've got off to have a drink. They've quit their jobs, and that's the last we see of them. So good for them. They left the story, as they should. Then we find Kyle in the middle of a weird ostentatious hall that's inexplicably in this cube. They're going to get married. Good for them. And he's all like, oh yeah, I'm powerful. I'm the sorceress's knight. I'm gonna stop you heathen resistance people. And the non-binarity come in, and Kyle is presumptively says, hey, you've come to help me. And they say, no, not really. We don't really know what you're doing anymore. I don't quite understand this. This is my favorite bit. I forgot about this line, but what they say is, it's really sad that of all people, of all situations we have to find ourselves in, we're actually relying on Simon to solve this. Like, they actually say, it's really annoying that that's what it's come to, is that Simon has to stop this. But whatever, we're gonna leave and let them get on with it. And then they leave the game again. It's good for them. I also forgot there is a short fight with them earlier before we meet Wide and Grumpy, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, Frame Man is just not being nice today. Settle down. Yeah, somehow in their admittance of defeat, as it were, they still somehow managed to insult us, which is good on them. They're pretty correct. Anyway, so what that leaves now is a fight between us and Kyle, a la the beginning of the game, if you can remember back that far. Right, let's better draw something. It's not like it's hard to insult us, absolutely not. I am going to have to draw some weird stuff for this fight, because generally speaking it's just a normal fight. It's a fight between Kyle, do I have, oh, that's the wrong brush, there we go. Actually, I don't even need to draw this, do I? It's going to be in exactly the same position as I've drawn him like 5 or 6 times. Kyle, where are you? No. Actually, I'm going to need that in a second. Okay, it was here. So it's relatively early here, right? Here we are. Spot on, I know this story. Not a very good drawing of Kyle, but whatever, it'll do. Okay, so we have our fight with Kyle. Let's fix a few of these details. Yeah, and it's just we fought this character before several times. It hasn't really changed, I don't think, as these fights go. But if you've done something in particular, something interesting happens. Now, so your nose isn't that big. So, one of our Pokemon is a Pokemon we can't control. They just turn up whenever they feel like it. And that Pokemon is Odin. So I believe, where was that? That was 12, wasn't it? 12 around here? There, Odin. So, there they are. Okay, so what normally happens in an Odin fight? Was that a leg? No, I don't think it was. Okay. So the way Odin works... Are we missing a leg? I think we might be missing a leg. Oh yeah, because that went out there and then down that. That was another like spider leg. Yes, so... Sorry, I've started this sentence about 4 times now. So, the way fights with Odin usually work let's get a generic enemy. Let's do one of these. Okay, here's a generic enemy. I think these are eyes as well. It's got eyeballs. Anyway, so we don't summon Odin. Odin works on Odin's own terms. And the way it works is that every now and then, right at the start of a fight, Odin will turn up and he'll go, yeah, I don't like the look of you very much. And then it'll go thwomp like that, right the way through the enemy. And then the enemy will go swing. Nope, it'll go swing like that, because it's just cut the whole thing right into, and then it will fade away into obscurity, and it just instantly kills the enemies that are there. It's a sword Pokemon. Yes, it puts the accent in the E, which isn't there for any particular reason. I think it was supposed to be an apostrophe, but they got it wrong. Because it's an abbreviation, isn't it? Pocket monsters, so it's like, should be an abbreviation. So. Anyway, so that's how typically Odin works, is by cutting things in twain. Now what happens here is that Odin turns up in the fight, and you're like, oh dear, this doesn't bode well for Kyle, does it? And he goes like this, and goes, I don't much like the look of you, and goes swing like that. And then what happens is that, because turns out Kyle has gotten pretty good with the sword, and somehow manages to cut Odin in half, and then he fades away into obscurity. So well done, someone had to kill God. It's a Final Fantasy game. It's just Kyle did it, not us. Good for him. But one thing that does happen, conspicuously, I could have cut his sword off as well, that doesn't happen. One thing that does happen, somewhat conspicuously, is that his sword, like that, flies out and lands on the ground. Like this. Then we continue the fight, because we now got to fight him. Because it turns out God couldn't. I've probably underplayed it. The first time that happens, if you're used to Odin just turning up and slicing things in half, that's a good twist. I'll give the game that. That's a really good twist. New sword, a bit big for us. However, if you're a fan of the Final Fantasy mythology and the multi-universe theory of Final Fantasy, A, what are you doing watching this? And B, boy, have I got some good news for you. So I've said several times that there are some things in Final Fantasy games that recur. The planet tends to be called Gaia, turns out. Or Terra was something made up in my head. All of my songs for this have turned up so far. That's weird. So the planet's called Gaia. There are things called bombs and Moogles and Tonberries. There's usually a guy called, in our case, Fly. There's a Wide and a Grumpy. There's a few little bits and bobs. Generally speaking, nothing really substantial. But there is one thing that recurs in Final Fantasy games. Not always, but recurs in Final Fantasy games as a story point. Because at the end of this battle, or near the end of this battle, someone turns up for that sword. And that somebody is a new Pokemon who we're going to inherit from. Or we're going to inherit... whatever. We're going to get instead of... what's it? Now, how am I going to draw this? Is there a hood? I don't think there's a hood. There might not be a hood. I'll put a hood. There might also be a feather there, why not? Now this character is a character, or this new Pokemon. I don't think there is actually an arm here, but there are like several here, so. Yeah, so this character is a character from Final Fantasy V. Literally. I don't mean that as in they have the same name. I mean it's the same one. Because if we get around to the Final Fantasy V Drawthrough, this character basically falls into the rift between games, and just starts game hopping. And they're a fancier of swords, and they heard a sword clack on the ground, so they've decided to come along and get a new one for their collection. They look less cool than this. I've not done a good job of showing how quite goofy they are. Decent enough reason not to just show up out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't know what other games they appear in, but I know they do. It's that simple. Cool. You never played FF5, so you didn't know about that. Yeah, this is well, I guess you have to name him. He's got like these long flowing robes and stuff. They've got cool patterns on them. He looks very much like they decided not to change the designs of Yoshitaka Amano. Who tends to do art for Final Fantasy that no one else then pays attention to, and they just do their own art. I don't really know what his deal is. But I'm sure he's having a good time. He's probably wearing sandals. I do also remember he has like crudely cut out cardboard here, where like other arms could be, that literally have like scribbled on hands. Just sticking out of his back. It's a weird character. Look at those hips. He's got a bit of a sachet going on there. No, he does. He does. He does. He was always a comic relief character. Although he does have one of the best themes in any Final Fantasy game. Everybody look up Clash on the Big Bridge, which is where you first sort of encounter them. You have a feeling you might know the name already. You don't remember this in FF8, but just having an idea based on a few things you vaguely remember hearing. Cool. He's got a thing there. He's got, like, he looks simultaneously more and less cool than this. That's the only way I can really describe this character. But there they are. Yeah, oh, there's another hand here that also is supposed to have a sword. Here's a... There you go. That's like a sword, right? Clash on the big bridge, yeah! Yep, it's the same character. He falls into the void in 5 and he keeps popping up in other games ever since. I don't know whose idea that was, but it's funny. So there is a multiverse theory for these games, but Anyway, he comes along and he does actually manage to fight Kyle and beat him. Yay! So it's better than Odin. The only problem is that his, rather than cropping up every now and then and killing enemies outright, he'll crop up every now and then and use one of his 4 swords. One of which does a bit of damage, one of which does a fair old amount of damage, one of which instantly kills things, and another of which does 1 damage. And guess which one you always get? Who do they think they are? Kingdom Hearts? Same designer. Oh, Nomura. Aren't you just a pain in the backside? So yeah, Cardboard King does the job and beats Kyle. But not before Kyle has a final wind and goes, "Ah, I don't like this very much," and then he runs away. Because we always just let him run away. I don't know why. So he runs away, and he runs past us, and we're like, "Oh, okay, that's probably a bad idea." And then we hear in the distance Cheery going, "Oh no!" And then someone runs in and goes, "He's captured Cheery. Why didn't you stop him?" And so we have to go and deal with that now. We've never tried very hard to stop Kyle in any shape or form. We're not going to start now. Well, maybe we should have stopped this time, because now he's kidnapped Cheery. And he makes his way upstairs. And he makes his way upstairs to the chamber containing a character. None of these are in the folder I wanted them to be. There they go. Right. Yeah, so what? Right, so now they go into the chamber. Here's Kyle. This is one of the ones that the YouTube copyright algorithm doesn't like. We should never have broken Cheery out of prison. If anything, that's on us. I know, I agree. A lot of this story is about, like, trying to find your voice and, you know, actually making decisions and taking your life into your own hands and all these sorts of things, rather than just listening to everyone else. And the one big decision that our characters make is arguably the worst thing. And I did pay attention to the scene earlier on, and we can 100% blame Velma for this. She is the one who coerces Simon. Says, I believe she says, "Oh, you're a fool for not breaking her out of prison," or whatever. So yeah, Velma, it's your fault. That's the only icing on the cake for that story. Thanks, Velma. Oh, here his coat's all torn and battered and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he's dragging her at sort of Cheery at gunblade point. She's like, "Oh no, this is not how I planned things to go." To think I temporarily fell in love with you for the purposes of narrative. Said it 1,000 times before, but we should have just brought Pinches with us all the way back then. Yeah, oh, how the story would have changed. I didn't really plan how the rest of the bodies are going to go for this, but... So, yeah, he drags her. Where is he dragging her? That's a good question. He is dragging her to a big old circle in the wall. There it is. But more importantly, what's in that circle? Ah, you guessed it. Did you? I don't know. Did you guess it? This is also a weird, like, everything's made of strings. It's a weird room. All looks like sort of a little bit like computer circuitry, but odd. Like the best cable management ever. Tip setting off screen, I'm like, I tried to warn you, but did you listen? Tip doesn't make judgments. They know better. They know better than most of the characters in most games, but they don't make judgments. Otherwise they would have quit that job ages ago. Your two ultimate story changes to save FFVIII. Write out one of the sorceresses, because there's no reason to have two, and make pinchers come along instead of Velma, then at least we'd have one person on the team with brain cells who can also talk. It would be a bit annoying halfway through battle, though, somebody suddenly having stomach cramps and having to drop out. Although I guess you kind of get something like that with 9. And that's annoying. So, can confirm, 'tis annoying. Okay, how do you do this then? Folks with IPS are doing their best. They absolutely. They've got representation in the game. This is quite nice. Pinches and Patches are a duo. Just whenever Pinches has to drop out, Patches takes over for a bit. I like that idea. It's a kind of a palom-porom situation. Who is this? This is copyright. She big. And very muscly. Also topless. But, you know, she's been in space prison for a while. I'll let her off. There is some contention in terms of translation as to whether or not this character is male or female. In the original, no gender is mentioned. In the English translation, it's female. They have a typically masculine appearance, but hey, it isn't the 90s anymore. So yeah, Cheery is being taken to copyright, who is being controlled by STPP. Oh yeah, posture. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. That time, that's on a half-hour timer. That's going to indicate how quickly time goes in these streams. Anyway, hopefully it works. Resetting timers and things like that is always a dangerous thing in programming, so hopefully I got it right. I remember I tried to do that for the text-to-speech thing, and I ended up resetting it twice every time it checked to see if there was a new text-to-speech thing. And obviously, if you reset it twice, then every time it goes off, it's going to reset twice again. So those 2 are going to become 4, and those 4 are going to become 8. And I wondered where all my memory was going. You understand the topless look after being in lockdown for so long. She's been in lockdown in space. Yeah. You support trans copyright, but you do not support her trying to destroy the world or whatever her plan is. Her plan is, I don't know. Well, she's currently being possessed by STPP, so her plan is time compression, I guess. Okay, so what happens now is we fight Copyright. However, before that happens, she does the thing. I don't know what this means. Okay, so I've mentioned before, there's a thing in the game called junctioning. Junctioning is usually where we take a Pokemon and we attach it to our brain in some way, and that allows us to use magic, and it allows us to use their powers and all that sort of stuff. And that's the thing that's been messing with our brain the whole time. We also encountered this word when we were talking about STPP in the future, because the way that STPP can send her mind back into the past is because of a machine that's made in the future based on Dishonored Jessie, called the Dishonored Jessie Junction Machine. So junctioning is a thing. That's all I'm saying. I can only presume what's happening here is a junction of some description. But basically, Cheery just gets sort of melded into the chest of Copyright. I'm not entirely sure why. She just sort of... I think she retains a bit of her torso. It's kind of a gimmick fight in the sense of, like, you've got to keep her alive while Copyright is draining her life and all that sort of stuff. Every time you hit Copyright, she goes, right, well, I'm going to nick some life from Cheery then. And you got to try and keep track of this. No, I did not sign up for this. My assumption is that she's trying to drain her sorceress power in some way. This music works fair. Do my typical, you know, the one. This is like the pose of draw-throughs, isn't it? This is the pose every character who has a semblance of understanding of what's going on in their story in a draw-through will at some point make this gesture. The what's even happening now gesture. Yeah, so we fight that, while keeping Cheery alive. Inexplicably, after we succeed, she's just fine. Anyway, we end up successfully defeating, Copyright. This is literally all Copyright's in the game for. Copyright, that was like a proud mum, yeah. Yeah, so we now beat Copyright, and her sorceress powers. Here's the thing that kind of was a bit weird to me. It's the first thing I thought as soon as I learned about this whole inheriting sorceress power thing, is when, like, if you can't die until you've passed your powers on to somebody, where does... Yep, we just beat Copyright. That's it. We see her in a cutscene, then we fight her in a battle, and then she's dead. Welcome to Final Fantasy VIII, where everything's wasted. She got a cool design. I like her. I think she also has like face sort of tattoo sort of things, sort of stuff coming out of the eyes. And... she's got cool stuff going on. Anyway, so we beat Copyright, and my thought when finding out that sorceresses have to pass their powers on to people when they die. What happens here? So where do the powers go? Did they just sort of forget about that? Apparently, Cheery gets her powers. So Cheery's like a double sorceress now? I don't really know how that works. Just reiterates my point of why there are two sorceress villains in this game. There are three. Remember, there's TM, Copyright, and STPP, who we haven't met yet. That's dumb, I know. Then the plan starts, okay? I'm not going to draw this because it doesn't really matter. Okay, so what happens now is Dishonored Jesse runs in, and as the powers, the double sorceress powers go into Cheery, so does STPP. You doubt the makers of this game knew how it worked. Look. They got there's a, if you look into the story, there's a lot of thematic and little story elements that do line up to know enough that they know what they're doing and they had an idea, but just not enough to know that they thought it out properly. What plan? When has there been a plan? There's been a plan. It's a plan. The plan was, if you remember correctly, that during this, after we defeat Copyright, and STPP needs to find somebody else to possess, the only sorceress nearby, who is now a double sorceress, is Cheery. When was there a plan explained? Love and friendship. Do you not remember the plan? The consciousness of STPP now takes over Cheery again, because it's the only person left. Plan to go into the future with the power of friendship. Absolutely, and in order to do that, we need to send her to the past. So, Dishonored Jessie runs in, because she was here apparently, and she sends Cheery's consciousness back into the past. Okay? In doing so, she also sends STPP's consciousness back into the past, which is what she was trying to do the whole time. She wanted to go further back into the past so she could compress time. That's her whole thing. So she's like, oh, brilliant, finally, I can compress time now. So she starts compressing time. Just as she's doing that, Dishonored Jessie cuts off the connection and brings back Cheery's mind, so that Cheery is now perfectly fine, but STPP stays in the past, which is all she ever wanted. This is your first time hearing an FFVIII plan, miss. The interesting thing is that this game is all about plans. It is a thematic recurring theme in this game that there are plans. No, like, I don't know what that says. I don't know anything, I'm confused. Yeah, that seems alright. Simon being confused on a bed. That happens more than I represented in this game, in this Drawthrough, but it does. So, what was I saying? I've lost it. Oh yeah, the games are very plan thematic. There's the plans at the beginning. We're in a military school, lots of plans. We're already told a lot of plans. Then we got like the plans of how to sort out the whole missile situation, and then there's the plan of how to sort out the battle of the space potato and the space pancake, and then there's the plan of attacking this, and like everyone giving you detailed plans of how to do things. That's just part of the game. None of them are good, but it is a recurring thing. You've been here for a while and you've never once heard a plan vocalized. That's probably just me. It's fine. There are some great reaction gifs. I did love the little flash of Jesse McCree being kicked down the stairs just then. I want to add that to my bot, that just pops up every now and then. Except for if the theme is humanity will never have a good plan ever, probably. I like that, again, that's another one of the things that doesn't quite work, is the idea that there's plans are a theme in this game, and also finding individuality and following your own voice and understanding, like, you know, making your own decisions and vocalizing them, because that's a whole thing, and that culminates with us breaking Cheery out of prison, which is then immediately followed by other people giving us orders to do a plan, which I think is just the most wonderful way of undermining a plot point. It's like, wonderful, you found your own identity, now listen up, soldier. I think it's great. Arguably the worst plan in the game. Jimmy did come up with it. Let's be fair. Although to be fair, it's probably actually Dr. Mangle, but he's also mad, so. Yeah. It's also kind of Dr. Mangle's fault. Oh yeah, why didn't we kill Dr. Mangle? That was another thing. That was another way we could have solved this, was by killing Dr. Mangle. But anyway. Arguably that's a causality thing. We'd only know to kill him because the things happened in the future which would have not happened if we killed him, which would have not told us to kill him, and paradox. So that's fair enough that doesn't happen. But hey, if you want to talk paradoxes, give me a couple of weeks. No one should ever listen to Dr. Mangle, that's fair. Jimmy should have stayed in line as a figurehead rather than try to make plans. Look. I don't know why I said look, I agree with you. And this gift of FF12. Oh, look at them! Look at them dance! Oh, that's the catharsis we need. Lovely. Waggles! I need to play FF12 at some point. Yeah. So that's a thing. Anyway, space melts. That's happening now. Right, so. Okay, we're back in. Right, so. We mentioned that you love that game. Not really, no. Well, you have now. I mean, that's the redundant answer, but. But you think FF12 is your favourite FF now after watching that one GIF? So yeah, we let STPP compress time, I guess, at least a little bit. So even when the hair's messed up, you know who it is because of the eyes. FF12 is good from what little you remember. I've heard good things. I've heard it's very, like a lot of the story is quite told politically rather than told in terms of like character stuff. But hey, you can compress time a little bit as a treat. Yeah. So what happens now is the floor melts, as does the building, as does time. And we just sort of fall through space and time for a bit. Literally, we fall. And we have a conversation with our friends as we're falling through time, and we are told, as is the plan, yes miss, it's the plan, that we need to find somewhere, we need to think about something which connects all of us together, so that we can have a particular place in mind that we can go to so that we can navigate this whole melting time thing. And stay, you know, stop ourselves from wandering a weird limbo between time. And so obviously, yeah, that's not how hands work, sorry. There we go. Amount of times I've just held my hands out to see which way the hands are supposed to go on a drawing. No plan, head empty. Yeah, so everything turns into like a Salvador Dali painting of weird reflective bubbles, and we just sort of fall through the sky and the sea and stuff. There are some seagulls around. They're doing alright. I don't know why they're unaffected. Definitely a seagull, absolutely. My old birdwatcher friends would really appreciate this drawing. What artist hasn't, yeah. Hands, the mysterious things. I will say the CGI on this, for the time this came out, the CGI on this sequence is pretty darn good. It's very surreal and very strange. Seagulls are the spawn of Satan. They aren't affected by human things like time. Yeah, I know that. You have many seagulls that congregate around this area. We're not too far away from the sea. So yeah. They're also misnamed. They don't go to sea. They're just like hanging around the shore. They're shore gulls. Yeah. So we do this for a bit. And we all think about a place that we're connected to. So we think about the orphanage. Obviously, it's the orphanage of plot convenience. That's the only reason it exists. So we all think about the orphanage and like, focus on the orphanage. Okay, focus on the orphanage. And then we end up going through some weird time stuff. Quick point of note here. Now would be the perfect time for anybody to mention the fact that Cheery wasn't at the orphanage. And as a consequence, conveniently, we've already set up the Field of Flowers. So it's like, brilliant, we can use that. So everyone else thinks of the orphanage, and because the orphanage is next to the Field of Flowers, Simon can think of both, and Cheery thinks of the Field of Flowers, and everything's grand and fine. This is not mentioned at all. So Cheery just inexplicably survives this for no particular reason. Just thought I'd let you know. It's mainly about exploration in FF12, the story more just unlocks areas. Oh, okay. Sorceress. There we go. Sure. Sure or sure? Or Ford. So yeah, we fall through time for a bit and we're thinking about all these things. If he thinks of both, he lands on the fence between both. I don't think there was a fence. Yeah, there were just some rocks, so he just lands on the rocks. But before we get there, this doesn't make sense in terms of the story, they just wanted more gameplay. Before we get there, we end up going through everywhere else we've been in the game. Now, I'm not drawing that, but generally speaking, what happens is we get ambushed in our memories by a bunch of things called sorceresses. And I say sorceresses, hopefully you can hear me say the inverted commas of sorceresses, because they're not actually sorceresses, they're just weird illusions of time or something or other. They literally have inverted commas around the name sorceresses. And so you have a kind of boss rush thing where all of the backgrounds of the fights, again, this is a really cool sequence, all of the backgrounds of the fights are the backgrounds of every place you've been to slowly melting. And it's just really cool. It's just like, for the time, really cool. Doesn't make a lick of sense, but it's cool. They really like complicating this whole sorceress thing, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm gonna draw, because it's a boss, I have to draw them. There's 3 types. There's the, I don't know, they're just all called sorceress, there's not really much to differentiate them. There's the light blue ones, there's the red ones, and then there's the big one at the end. I have no idea what they look like. Drugs. Have you got a good gif of this bit? Looks like she's on drugs. These ones always reminded me a little bit of Elsa, the Pokemon that we have. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what they look like. Let's just do a weird design. Hey, perfect. Oh, we got both of these pieces of music together. Wonderful. Yeah, these are just like a mini boss that you fight as you go along, so it's not, I'm not particularly bothered if this isn't accurate. It's fine. Something weird and fantasy-ish, whatever. I think they have quite cool, weird, sort of slightly, sort of, I don't know, mix of fabric and biological. There's weird stuff going on. Yeah, so there's those ones. There's... I think these ones have like... These ones are a lot broader, so I'm imagining they have like... shoulder pads or something. Thank you for the wonderful music. Perfectly fitting for this weird thing. You're going to ask if their clothes were made up by their hair. No, I don't think so. It's not Bayonetta. Although that would make sense, witches. Is that like a thing with witches? Is that like a historical... These ones are slightly clearer in my mind, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do a good job with it. Yeah, I think their designs in the game are cooler than this, but they're also quite forgettable, so what are you going to do? The sequence is good, but they're forgettable. Oh, your drawing looked as though it were, yeah. Could do something like that, if you really wanted to. Unfortunately, I've got a lot to get through. Actually, I don't really have a lot to get through. I don't really want to rush, because I kind of want to do the last area in one go. Well, not in one go, probably in 2 goes, but... There's an element by which I want to do the last area in one go, so... A very 80s look going on here. I don't know. That would make more sense actually if I... Okay, there's those ones. They also have a weird laugh when they appear, which is strange. They just sort of come in waves. There's like 5 of these, and then 3 of these, and then the final one. Well, I guess it's a lot bigger than any of these. Yeah, I don't really know how to draw this, but I have a vaguer idea, better understanding of how this might work. There's certain design elements that stick out a little stronger than others. Got that whole sort of reach repulsor thing going on again. You can only find gives you 5ths of the last one. That's fair. The last one is more memorable. I mean, it's the actual boss, so the rest are just sort of like a cinematic warm up. I think they have their own music. Do I have? What's that called? Impression of Time, probably. I'd hazard a guess. Is it? No. The The successor? No? What's their music called? Oh, is it the one I replaced? Oh no, that was Lunatic Pandora. Maybe it's an old bit of music. Generally, these are in order. Is it Succession of Witches? No. Oh, what's the music that plays during this sequence? That's annoying. Oh well, I'll play mine. Yeah, this is sort of less Rita Repulsa and more sort of, I don't know, it reminds me of the King Katamari or whatever his name is. Again, these things kind of aren't real, so it doesn't really matter all that much. So yes, she just kind of slithers out of a hole in nothing. Again, very Diablo-y. Or, well, I don't know what we call... What do we call Diablo in this? They're very, One Reborn-ish. Very, Dancer of the Boreal Valley. I kind of really don't want to start the final level. Because there's some... I want to do it all in one go. Is there anything I've missed? Oh, we can go back and get the other Pokemon we missed. I've got to introduce you to the final level first. So it's sort of... I've kind of drawn it serpentine-y here. It sort of texturally feels more like a tongue. The sort of... I don't know, it's a weird sort of... look to it. Oh, thank you, bot. Gross. Yeah, it's an odd. It's not supposed to be particularly physically appealing. This boss. Oh, Pokemons. dot 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 dot. Anyway, yeah, you fight them, and then you fall through time back to the orphanage, because that is where you're all thinking of, apart from Cheery. But she's here, inexplicably, it's fine.
It texturally appears more like a tongue.
Yeah, yeah. I want to see... Yeah, they got much weirder designs than I thought. So where is this one? Oh, okay, it's a lot more weird and blobby than but it makes me think of a tongue more than it does a worm. There's some funky colours going on this. Also, I appear to have mistaken ears for shoulders. Anyway, never mind. Because you're not here to see this. This is an incidental boss that literally has nothing to do with the game. We arrive at the Orphanage. Now, have I drawn the orphanage before? In particular, have I... No, I haven't drawn the beach of the orphanage. That's important. So here's the beach of the orphanage. It's by the coast. There's a bit of land that goes up here. Up to a lighthouse. I might have mentioned that there's a lighthouse here. It has no bearing on the story, nor any thematic purposes. It's just a lighthouse. I love lighthouses. This is vitally underutilized. Texturally appears more like a tongue. It's having just looked at a reference for it. If your tongue looks like that, seek medical help. But you probably already knew that. Hey! Ah, there's a good multi-armed friend. Blowing Kyle away. Fun fact, one of the original ideas I had for October was set in a post-apocalyptic surrealist universe, and the characters of October, Claudio, and two other characters who have not yet made it to the current comic, all lived in a lighthouse. He was an FF12. Ah, okay. I like lighthouses, they're cool. Actually, quite a lot of my favourite games involve lighthouses in some fashion. The submachine games, quite big on lighthouses, Bioshock. They're good thematic fun. Again, they need to be used for a purpose, though. So, okay, so this is the beach by the orphanarium. And you fight him on a big bridge. Wonderful. Ooh. Ooh, he looks a lot more menacing here. He's got like good fabrics and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so the orphanage is up here somewhere. So all of our characters, we arrive in the memory of the orphanage. And we're like, okay, what do we do next? And then the surroundings begin to change. Ooh, angry. My hair's a little scruffier than usual. It's got a bit of bird poo in there. But generally speaking, we're unscathed. Oh, there is a cool sequence, which doesn't really... I can't really properly convey because I haven't given... It's a bit like the whole Odin thing, where I haven't given you enough information to show you kind of how cool it is as a set piece. But there's this bit just before the sorceress fight where you land in the... You probably don't remember, the hall where Cheery first attempted to give the mangle bangle to TM, and she got thrown around like a salad. I don't know, what do you throw around? A dog's toy or something? Anyway, in the room in which that happens, you turn up there for some reason, and there's like a save point in the middle of the room, and you're like, oh, brilliant, I'll go and save. And as soon as you touch the save point, dozens of save points appear around you. And it's just really weird, because that's never happened before. And it's like, hey, guess what? Something's wrong here. And then you fight a bunch of weird snake ladies. This game has some cool moments. It's just a shame they're in service of nothing. Anyway, we are now at the orphanage. What do we do now? Well, I know what Frame Man wants to do. Calm down. I feel bad for the people who had to figure out how 6 arms work. Maybe they were Hindu. Maybe they're familiar with that. That would be great. Weren't we just there in Remnant? Maybe. Anyway, as we get here, and our love for our friends allows us to travel to the future. So we travel to the orphanage, but in the future. And what does that look like? Well, for a start, there's no sea here anymore. That's not what it doesn't look like that. Ooh, weird. And this is just kind of like a precipice that just sort of keeps going down. I don't know where it goes. There's just sort of the blackness down here. It's fine. Frame Man hasn't bothered you once since you left your laptop. Oh, maybe it's happening in very short bursts, so maybe my computer is able to catch up just in time for you not to notice that it's a thing. Future orphanage of plot convenience. Absolutely. The plot convenience this time is that this happens to be exactly where we needed to go in the future. So that's cool. But what do we see? We see it wouldn't be Final Fantasy if there wasn't some sort of floating island. Was there a floating island in 7? I don't think there was. Yeah, there's a floating island here, and then there's just sort of like that's there, that goes there, that goes there. And it's like, oh, and here's the music of this location. As if by plot convenience. Yeah, there's just these massive chains. Etc, etc. That doesn't look bad, does it? And then the same thing here. Here's my very, very intricate chain design. It's fine. Again, really cool set piece. Not really in service of much. Yeah, now would you like to hazard a guess as to what's on this island? I'd be very interested to... Again, this is the music for it, so it might give you an idea. Organ players? There is an organ. Some of the rocks on the crater were kind of floaty in 7. Some areas full of Mako. Can't remember any island though. Yeah, I guess like towards the end where you fight like Jessimom synthesis. I guess that's a kind of floaty island sort of thing. Also, you'll be pleased to know that this beach is just covered in white seed. Just littered with white seeds spread all across the beach. I like how Miss is lagging behind slightly, so I'm just waiting for that response. What people have been up to on the beach. Yeah, there's just loads of... Because apparently, if you remember correctly, Seed was set up by... It was set up by TM prior to her being possessed, but presumably after her being turned into a sorceress.
Oh no, Frame Man bye.
Oh no, what a shame. How convenient that it happened just then. So... iPads, high five. Don't do that, they'll break. Yeah, so Seed was set up by TM to fight the Sorceress. And they've kept doing that all the way through the future. There are loads of Seed currently fighting the Sorceress in the future. And there are bodies of them everywhere. This is not relevant to the plot. They're just there. I just wanted to say the sentence, there is white seed scattered all over the beach. Because sometimes this game is nice and gives me funny things to say. Don't even have to work at these jokes, they just happen. Anyway, they're all over the place. Right. How dare Frame Man appear when White Seed is mentioned? Let's give this a crack.
Was the white seed also part of the plan?
It was part of TM's plan, yeah, I guess. Yeah, what we have at the top of the big floating rock is big ol' spooky tower of spooks. Spookums. Spooky Castlevania. Like a clock tower in there as well. But there's one more element to this tower that I want you to guess. This is not just any ordinary weird gothic freaky mansion castle. There's probably like a bridge between two things. There is another element to this. Then go to some free Helter Skelter. No, I've had one word. No, I'm assuming you meant warts for hogs. You know, Pokemon but not Hogwarts. See, I got it. Anyway, how many of you guessed giant wings? Oh, there we go. Chibi guessed it. How do you think it's flying? With giant wings, of course. Also, there's like some sort of nebulous cloud thing going on underneath. I don't know. It's spooky. Why giant wings? It's got to fly. I'm quite pleased with those chains. That one in particular. Look at it. Whew, amazing. Right. So yeah. And this is STPP's castle. And it is the final location of the game. Some games take place in space. Some games take place inside a big crater at the top of the planet. This one is in a weird gothic castle. Why? I don't know. Timey-wimey magic, not giant wings. Fair enough. Bioshock Infinite, this. Quantum levitation. No, that's nonsense. Giant wings. They're not even flapping, they're just there. I have half an hour. And I don't want to start the castle just yet. What else haven't we done? Because the castle, legitimately the castle is one of my favourite parts of the game. And it's not necessarily for what it does for the game, it's just, if you take it out of the game, it's pretty cool. And I think you could make a pretty good Castlevania game out of this final area. Not a good Final Fantasy game, but a good Castlevania game. We'll get to why next week. No, we're not going to end early, we've got stuff to do. We're climbing the chains, or how are we going to get to the castle? We walk along the chains. We walk up there. Any pokes we're missing? Yes, there is the one. You can also, if you've missed any Pokemon, you can get them in here. For reasons that will be ascertained next time. Although apparently that wasn't in the original Japanese version. More lamp. You can only. I found this out during my randomizer playthrough. You can only rub one lamp. I found 8 in a battle, but it turns out you can only rub it once. So that's a shame. Yeah. Okay. So there's another Pokemon. I can draw that. It's not going to take me half an hour, but well, it depends on how long I want to take it, really. Right. So this one is a recurring one, actually, in the Final Fantasy franchise, and it looks quite different each time, but generally speaking, it has the same sort of feel to it. Because they have to pity the poor Western gamers. There's apparently also the ability to swap your Junction to Magic and Pokemon from one player to the next. That was also added after the Japanese version, and I'm like, how much of a pain in the arse must that game have been without that feature? Oh my god, you have to do that constantly. I'm gonna have to... That's smaller. Oh, was this it? This might have been it. Actually, I can probably put symmetry on for this. Save me a bit of time. Let's go. Give me symmetry, baby. Yeah, this is the music that plays when you fight all the sorceresses. Sorry, sorceresses. I don't know why it's so early in the thing. Playlist. Oh, maybe this is the music that plays when you fight TM for the first time as well. Because it's just before... Yeah, that makes sense. I really like making games hard. That's not hard, that's annoying. It's time consuming. The same thing when you had to make games last. Oh yeah, I guess so. Trying to think how exactly. Big friend, very big friend. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the rest of the body, so I'm just going to sort of make it up. Lots of decorations. They're quite intricately designed usually. In fact, this if you want to commit something to memory, feel free to remember this for the Final Fantasy IX draw through, because This one plays a part in that story. So yeah, how's everybody's week started? Has it gone well? Hope so. And if not, I hope it carries on and starts going good, because it needs to up its game. So this is a not terrible artistic interpretation of the thing. I do feel like this needs something else. It might just be flat. I kind of want to put one of those things on it. I don't think that's strictly accurate, but I think it looks better like that. And not looking forward to the rest of the week? Oh no. You will retain nothing, that's fair. When you think of FF15, many big friends, you like them. The only thing I know about FF15, in terms of bigness, is Adamantoise. Because they went hard with Adamantoise. That's another recurring one, and Adamantoise is a big turtle. That is traditionally very resilient, and I don't think they've gone further than in FF15, where it is just a mountain. It's amazing. You made bread and you now have wine. Wow, you like Jesus. He didn't know he turned bread into fish. What did he do? I can't remember what he did now. He turned water into wine and bread into fish. That was it. I'm bad with stories. Gonna try and do something for your brother's birthday in a couple of days. Which reminds you, happy early birthday to Kiki, if you remember right, sorry if you're wrong though. I can't remember. I have no idea. This is the new Jesus. Goblin Jesus. Yay. There are many huge things in FF15. Cool. Yeah, so that's that. That's next big Pokemon friend. It like fires missiles out of this. Because it's Final Fantasy VIII and you gotta fire missiles, it's a thing. It's a theme. Kerpew and all that. Kiki is celebrated every month. No. She's a little bit out of sorts at the moment because she doesn't like change and things are changing. Carpet's getting ripped up and the house is being redecorated and all that sort of stuff. Oh dear, I turned off symmetry. Let's just trace these lines. There, all fixed. Perfect. I don't know. What are these? If you used to be a deity of any sort, let me just eat your bread, sip your wine, and judge harshly. That's fair. Yeah, okay, 20 minutes. What can we do in 20 minutes? Took 10 minutes to do that. I think we've done all of the optional stuff. There's the music again, castle. Is there anything in the castle that isn't necessary? Well, there's lots of things in the castle that are necessary. But is there anything I can draw? Because I want to do it all together, generally speaking. Oh, I know what I can draw. There's an optional boss. An optional hidden boss in there. Keeping with the theme. I'm gonna try and draw. I'm not going to draw it. I'm going to draw the version that is appropriate for what I have already drawn. Catherine recently settled Christmas with decorations being put up, new toys in the house, canopy bed set up in the living room. She was very stressed. I'm going to try and draw a as cool as you can for a ridiculous idea version of this. Because it's a version of a boss we've already met. But it's the super boss version, and it's very hard, and you get an achievement for beating it. I've never really been one for super bosses in Final Fantasy games. I don't find that side of things particularly satisfying. Because it's like, you need to solve a puzzle. It's like, oh, okay, I can solve a puzzle, but you might not have all the pieces yet. How will I know if I have the pieces? If you solve the puzzle. That doesn't sound fun. Where do I find the pieces? Oh, it takes you 10 hours to grind for them. How do I know if I'm grinding for the right ones? You don't! Thanks. You're welcome. That's Final Fantasy super bosses. Then poor baby Hershey just chewed on your legs more. Oh. Nah, my cat. She only chews on your legs or hands if you pet her too much. She has her limits. But she does she gets ill, bless her. She has a weak constitution. I gave up trying to beat the super bosses in FF12 because it took too long. Thanks for letting me know. I won't even try. Yeah, the ones in 10 were just, yeah. I didn't even do the ones in 7. This is one of those things, like, if you look up a guide and you're like, oh, okay, I can do that, but at that point, what are you even doing? You know? Like, if you want to do it for the achievement, go ahead, I'm not going to stop you. It's a game, you can do what you like. But as far as I'm concerned, the whole fun of a super boss should be just trying to work out how to do it. And then getting the execution right. It's like, you just look up a guide that says, okay, do this, 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 and this, and then it will work. True Lady is our Kiki. I'm gonna look up a suit of armor, because I've drawn so many suits of armor without any reference at all, and I'm sure I'm doing them so poorly. Let's actually get some sort of reference. Okay. There we go. We've got some of these business. I never use reference, and I really should use reference. Posture! I didn't even try to beat the boss in FF12. You saw the video of someone fighting it before and knew what they were doing, and it was still brutal. Yeah. Isn't that the one that has like 1 billion health? It's just a ridiculous amount of health. Because that's exactly the kind of boss I'm not interested in fighting. I'm interested in fighting a boss that would otherwise, like, just tear you down quickly, rather than, you know what to do, it's just going to take 5 hours. It's like, no. 50 million, okay. Does that game still have the damage cap of 9,999? Yep, marvellous. So that's at least 50 million, there's 50, there's 10,000. So what do we want? We want 100. Get up to a million. 50 of those. So it's 5,000. So it's over 5,000 attacks that need to be done. It's not turn-based, is it, 12? There's some sort of real-time element to it? Because otherwise that is just 5,000 inputs. At least. In the redone version on Steam, it's easier because you can control the summons more to actually kill it quicker. Oh, cool. It heals too! Oh, wonderful! Just what the doctor ordered. We're getting a lot of this music, aren't we? 12 is not turn-based. No, not really. Okay. Let's try and get some sort of... Have you drawing this friend to this music? Yeah. It's wonderful. The consistency of this soundtrack really is quite something. We'll give him a nice chunky sword. Yep, just realised what the second half of this is supposed to be. In the Zodiac version, there's one on Steam, they have Limit Break. Oh, cool. Matches the consistency of the game, absolutely. I am looking forward to doing 9, because of the Final Fantasy games we've done, 7 and 8 aren't particularly representative of the rest of the series. And I think 9 gives you a better idea of what the earlier ones were a bit like. Not earlier, but mid to early. So 99,999. Oh, that's just 500 of those. That's great. That sounds absolutely doable. Plan before you draw. Let's give you a shield. Why not? So then you'll be holding it like this. I'm already drawing you completely inaccurately. I might as well go the whole hog. Nine is good. 9 is good. I'm a big fan of 9. But then will it be more fun to do a draw through of a game that has a good storyline? Or are we enjoying the absolute bafflement of this too much? Probably could afford a bit more. Also, interestingly, I don't really remember the soundtrack of 9 all that much. Like, there's a few tracks that stick out, like Vivi's theme, and that's about it, really. I was never really much of a fan of the battle theme in 9, or the boss theme. That big old chunky sword, probably make it a little smaller. Yeah, don't get me wrong. 9 has some absurdity in it, definitely towards the end. but at least at the beginning, there's something akin to, not identical to, but akin to, a sensible story going on. You like the soundtrack of Night? I don't, there's nothing about it that annoys me. Yeah, look at him. He's wearing a lot of eyeliner. I only noticed that recently. A friend, yeah. I also like the fact that the storylines of the characters in Final Fantasy IX, yes, they each have a storyline. It's great. I should really sort of go back a bit more first, and then forwards, probably. I don't know, how do horses? The problem with drawing things on a canvas that's wider than it is tall. No socks or padding in his male shoes. Oh, jeez. He's a man of strong will. Yeah, each of the characters' like development and story in 9 are thematically connected to one another, and like, wouldn't that make a nice change, eh? Wouldn't that make a nice change? If somebody's just coming in here and wondering what on earth any of this has to do with Final Fantasy VIII, they'd like to go this way this time, didn't they? Don't worry, it doesn't. Also, this guy, yeah, Vivi, best character in any Final Fantasy game. Don't care what anyone says. Vivi is the best. They are the main character of the game. No one can convince me otherwise. Maybe him and Dagger together, probably. And then some weird story happens about this guy called Zidane near the end. I don't know, I don't care. Yeah, do not, again, Oobs does not need to see this. You love the mages and I love their designs. The black waltzes were like one of my favourite things when I was a kid. I think their designs are a little bit lacking nowadays, but nonetheless, still cool. I'm going full Centaur on this one. Just going screw the original design. I'm taking the things I liked about my crappy version and I'm just working with those. Vivi's wonderful too. I love Freya. I thought Freya really got shafted with the story. They kind of had half a story and then they got forgotten about, which feels appropriate, really. Oh, that's a sad pun. Oobs needs to see everything. No, Oobs does not need to see everything. They've got their own things going on. Anyway, how do you armor a horse? Let's look up horse armor. Don't give me Skyrim. Sorry. Yeah. I just, yeah. Think Oobs would be proud of you for this, friend? I don't know. A little. Nice designs on these. If I need a design, I always just do a fleur-de-lis, and I'm like, cool, that's done. Oh, Chris, does your design elements and knowledge know no bounds? Anyway, this is the optional super boss of the game. I feel like I do actually have to show you a picture of this boss just to show you how far off the mark I am. Put it this way, it was said of my last drawing of it, oh, you forgot the face in the stomach, or whatever it was. You forgot the other face. Let's give you some nice... Gotta make sure the articulations are free to move in your armor. The articulations are free to move? That's not a sentence. Well, it's a sentence, it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes you just gotta design your own boss. Keep that thought in mind. You're gonna have to keep that one in mind longer than all the other things I've said today. Where's the other face on this one then? In here somewhere. It's got its own little helmet. Stop saying that. You'll like that one, though. I know you'll like that one. Well, I hope you'll like that one anyway. Anyway, here is a mega weapon. I think that's right. Oh, stop with your plinky plonky nonsense. Question mark, question mark, question mark. I can prove you will like it because it's got nothing to do with this game. Keep the fleur-de-lis motif going. Yeah, there we go. And for reference, here's the original. Because I have an impeccable memory. There it is. I mean, it's basically the same, isn't it? Pretty much. You know, with the 6 legs and the knight's helmet and the armor. I'm basically a genius. There's some cool art of it though. This is by Hatanjo on DeviantArt. Look at that. That's pretty darn good. Like Dark Souls. Anyway. Compared to my drawing. It helps that it does take place inside you fight it inside a church with stained glass windows and stuff. So it's a cool setting. That in and of itself, just the environment art on this is pretty good. Yes, Htanjo is the person who did this. They also have process work, which is pretty cool. A lot of little sketches of how they did it. Well, they made some big changes as they were going along. Yeah, good for you. So yeah, that's just a Dark Souls boss. It is wrong, but it's cool. So it turns out if you take something from Final Fantasy and then you draw it well, you get a Dark Souls boss. You're going to be playing FF12 again after looking through the wiki for it. That's fair. Oh, it's going to be insufferable if I stream FF12. Going to be like, do this. Now you missed the thing. Also, you like this? Oh, bloody hell! I better skip this. This just gave me a copyright strike last time. I just this morning had to edit out some sound from the last VOD because of that track. It's a good song. Look it up. Man with the Machine Gun. It's Laguna's battle theme. Oh, not Laguna. Jimmy's battle theme. Yeah, and it's good. But unfortunately, can't do that. And luckily, that brought us up to speed. So yeah. Thank you everyone for coming along. Next week, we will get inside the castle and we will see all the things that I like about it. And then after that, probably the week after, we'll finish. This is the last area of the game. But basically, we're almost done. If I skip the optional stuff, we can do this in one stream. But I'm not going to do that. What's the fun in that? Flute. This is actually a flute. Yes. There's only one thing to do. There's only one thing you do that for sure, and that's if you break some pots, you miss out on the ultimate one-handed sword. Okay, interesting. But I want to break some pots. There is temptation to rather break pots. It's my instinct from Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Break the pots. Rock. Frame man. Shush. Oh, we're almost at 10,000 dropped frames. That's an achievement. 4.5% of this stream has disappeared. Who knows where it's gone? Which I have no idea how the heck you'd know without a guide. That's how they sell guides. How do you think you were supposed to get Excalibur 2 in Final Fantasy IX? Actually finish the game that quickly? No. Although I have. That was one thing I did do. I thought, you know, you can kill two birds with one stone, I can learn the speedrun route. So yeah. Also, the super boss of Final Fantasy IX is probably my favourite super boss of all the games, because it's just different. A lot of the super bosses are over-designed. This one is arguably under-designed, and that makes it more interesting. Also, the ultimate unarmed weapon you can miss out on if you did one thing wrong. It's called the God Hand. Yeah, that's a recurring theme as well. It's God Hand. That's pretty sure Riku has one of those in 10. I don't think... No, Pikachu's one is the Urgies, isn't it? What is the Urgies? The German for something? Urgheis? Whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, don't worry about ultimate weapons and things like that. I always miss them anyway. Bloody faff you have to go through to get them in Final Fantasy X. Ah, the lightning puzzle. Oh no. Oh, I hate it. I've done it, but I hate it. Yeah. But for everybody who doesn't play the games, we're a long way off from those, don't worry. I'm looking forward to doing 10 at some point though, because 10's story is, I think, probably the strongest self-contained story. Even if it is bonkers at some points. But it's bonkers right from the beginning, so that's fine. It's not like this. You know, Final Fantasy VIII, it starts off, it tricks you into thinking it's sensible, and then by the end of it, it's nuts. 10 is nuts from the beginning. You can get Simon's on the first disc. Marvellous. You tried the lightning one for several hours and just could not, yeah. The thing is, there's a spot in the game where if you walk over it, it always strikes lightning. And so that's how I did it. If I didn't know that, I wouldn't have done it. Because you have to dodge like is it 200? 100? I had a little tally going as I was doing it. But yeah, you have to do that. Again, one of those things. Just like, it's just wasting my time. Yeah, anyway. Thanks for coming along. Tomorrow, we have the Frem Yang Dango. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, carrying on with that. Swish. Yeah. 200 in a row. Jeez. FF10. Wait, he's who? He's what? Yeah. Oh, the first Final Fantasy game with voice acting, and they really went for it, didn't they? Thanks for stream. Thank you for coming to the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. Sorry I kind of fillered at the end, but there's a thing I want to do next time that I think will be quite fun. Wanna combine some stuff. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming along. Tomorrow, Grim Fandango. We'll be carrying on trying to work out how to exploit cat races and worker bees, and how exactly do you tattoo bone? I don't know. Oh, is that a sad face? That's a sad face. Oh no. That's a sad face. Looking forward to it. So am I, trying to work it all out. Yes, the VODs are going up on YouTube. Oh, yawning. It's not that late. The VODs are going up on YouTube soon. I've uploaded them today. So, remember 10 and 12 because you actually had an interest in reading. So push past my dyslexia. Ah, I see. Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of reading in Final Fantasy games, and the early games were very badly translated, so that doesn't help. Is it sad? It looks, I don't know. Does it look like there's tears in the eyes? Is that the sad or hungry? Not sure. Maybe both. Your sad stream's ending. Oh, that's nice. But a little bootleggy. I'm sad I can no longer speak to you. Ah. There we go. We can return the compliments. Yeah. I hope you had a wonderful time. Hope you have a great week. I'll be back tomorrow doing games. And until then, I'll leave you with some music. What music am I going to leave you with? I don't know. Something good? Probably not. Let's go with Pinches and Patches theme. I always like that one. Have a wonderful time, everyone. Enjoy yourselves. Goodbye. Thank you for coming.